The signal is clean. Too clean. Inside the command post, a windowless, tempest-shielded shipping container designated Miflats, or sanctuary. Welded deep into the belly of the Israeli Navy, SAR 4.5 class missile boat INS Hetz. No one breathes. The vessel holds a precise stationary position in international waters. Its advanced EL-M2248 MF-STAR radar arrays pointedly directed away from the Gaza coast to maintain the electronic posture of a routine patrol. The air inside Miflats is thick with the metallic tang of ozone from the server racks and the acrid, week-old smell of burnt coffee. On the main tactical screen, a voice print analysis program, a proprietary Unit 8200 software codenamed Kol Dodi, my beloved's voice, flashes a single definitive phrase in green Hebrew text. Zihui Vadai, certain identification. The confidence index reads 99.8%. For 7 seconds, the target has been speaking. In the world of signals intelligence, 7 seconds of a high-quality transmission from a priority target is an eternity of actionable data. Yahya Ayash, the man designated Target Gimel, and known to his followers as the Engineer, is on the line. He is speaking to his father. The director of the Shin Bet, Ami Ayalon, a man whose face seems permanently etched with the fatigue of command, looks at the young signals officer seated before the console. He doesn't speak. He just nods. Once. The officer's hand, steady and practiced, hovers over a single, unmarked red button on his panel. He isn't activating a missile launch sequence. He isn't calling in a precision airstrike from an F-16. He is about to place a phone call. A call that will transmit not a voice, but a single, specific, dual-tone, multi-frequency signal. A DTMF burst digitally synthesized to be inaudible to the human ear, but perfectly recognizable to its intended receiver. That receiver, a custom-designed acoustic-coupled trigger no bigger than a thumbnail, is nestled beside 50 grams of military-grade RDX plastic explosive. That explosive has been meticulously packed into a hollowed-out, perfectly weighted battery casing for a Nokia P1000 cell phone. The same phone currently pressed against the left side of Yahya Ayash's face. The officer presses the button. Miles away, in a nondescript safe house in the Beit Lahia neighborhood of the northern Gaza Strip, the phone call ends. To understand how Israeli intelligence managed to place a bomb inside their most wanted enemy's ear, you have to go back to the blood and fire that made the operation not just possible, but a national security imperative. The year is 1994. The Oslo Accords, a fragile, hard-won framework for peace, have been signed on the White House lawn. The images of Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat shaking hands are broadcast across a hopeful world. But on the streets of Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Afala, that hope is being systematically dismantled, piece by bloody piece. The architect of this strategic destruction is a ghost. An electrical engineering graduate from Birzeit University, class of '91, named Yahya Abd al-Latif Ayash. To the rising Hamas movement, he is a hero, a resistance icon, al-Muhandis, the engineer. To the Israeli intelligence community, he is target number 1, a figure of almost mythical lethality, a man who single-handedly transformed the nature of the conflict. Ayash did not invent terrorism, but he perfected its delivery system for the modern era. Before him, bombs were crude, unreliable devices, often as dangerous to the bomb maker as to the target. Ayash applied his academic training with chilling, scientific precision. He stabilized the notoriously volatile TATP, triacetone triperoxide, a homemade explosive known colloquially as the mother of Satan due to its extreme sensitivity to heat, shock, and friction. By developing a new synthesis process using commonly available chemicals, making it viable for mass casualty attacks. He pioneered the use of suicide vests and belts, designing them to be concealable and to direct the blast and shrapnel outwards in a 360-degree wave of death. He turned the human body into a guided weapon, and he was prolific. April 6, 1994. A car bomb packed with 70 kilograms of TATP and nails detonates next to commuter bus number 348 in Afula. 8 dead. 54 wounded. April 13, 1994. A suicide bomber boards bus number 32 in Hadera during Holocaust Remembrance Day. 5 dead, 30 wounded. October 19, 1994. The Dizengoff Street bus bombing. In the heart of Tel Aviv's cultural and commercial center, a suicide bomber detonates a 20-kilogram device Ayash built himself. 22 civilians are killed, scores are maimed. The bomb is a masterpiece of destructive engineering, packed with nails, screws, and ball bearings to function as a massive anti-personnel fragmentation device. It is this attack, the sheer barbarity of it in Israel's secular hub, that serves as the genesis for his termination. The public is terrified. The fragile peace process is on the verge of collapse. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin convenes an emergency meeting with the heads of his intelligence services, the Mossad, the Shin Bet, and Amman, military intelligence. The directive is simple, brutal, and absolute. Find the engineer and kill him. The problem is, you can't kill a ghost. Ayash operates with a level of paranoia and operational security that borders on the supernatural. He never sleeps in the same house for more than one night. He never uses a telephone personally, relying on couriers. He never meets with anyone he doesn't know intimately from his university days or his family. He travels disguised as an elderly woman, a West Bank farmer, even a Jewish settler with a knitted kippah. His own wife, he once boasted, is only told where to meet him hours in advance, a different location every time. His bomb-making process is compartmentalized to an extreme degree. He builds his devices in one location, delivers the finished product to a cutout in another, who then passes it to a handler, who then delivers it to the bomber. Ayash never meets the final link in the chain. His operational security is flawless. For over 2 years, the combined might of the Mossad and the Shin Bet is thrown at this one man. They have nothing. No photograph more recent than his 5-year-old university ID. No reliable human intelligence on his location. Every attempt to infiltrate his network fails with lethal consequences. Potential informants are discovered and publicly executed in town squares. Undercover agents are compromised and vanish without a trace. The engineer becomes a legend, a phantom who materializes only through the wreckage and body parts he leaves behind. The pressure from the political echelon on the Israeli intelligence community becomes immense. They are failing, and the country is paying the price in blood. The man tasked with solving this failure is Ami Ayalon, a former commander of Shayatet 13, Israel's elite naval commando unit. Ayalon is not a typical intelligence bureaucrat. He is an operator, a man of action who understands that conventional methods have hit a brick wall. He takes over as director of the Shin Bet in early 1995. His initial assessment is stark. The search for Ayash is a collection of dead ends and compromised operations. They need a new approach, not a bigger net, but a single, perfectly crafted key to unlock his defenses. Ayalon knows that every fortress has a crack. Every ghost has a habit. He assembles a small, dedicated task force, pulling top analysts from Unit 8200. Israel's Signals Intelligence Division, the most experienced case officers from the Shin Bet's Arab Department, and, controversially, several creative technical officers from the Mossad's Caesarea Department. Their mission: dissect every piece of information, no matter how trivial, ever collected on Yahya Ayyash. They are not looking for his location. They are looking for his weakness. The profile they build is terrifying. Ayyash is not motivated by money or ideology in the conventional sense. He is a craftsman, obsessed with his work. He takes professional pride in the deadly efficiency of his bombs, meticulously calculating blast radii and fragmentation patterns. He is patient, disciplined, and utterly devoted to his cause. But the deep data dive into his life, cross-referencing thousands of hours of intercepted communications from his known associates and family members, reveals one single, exploitable pattern. A single deviation from his otherwise perfect security protocol. He is deeply attached to his family, his wife and young son, who he moves from safe house to safe house with him, and his elderly father, living in the West Bank village of Rafat. Despite the immense risk, Ayyash has a compulsion. He needs to speak to his father. He never uses a landline, which he knows is easily monitored. He uses borrowed cell phones, never the same one twice, and speaks for no more than a minute or two. It's a tiny crack in a formidable wall. But for Ami Ayalon, it's enough. The new strategy is born. They will not find the engineer. They will make the engineer find them. The weapon will not be a bullet from a sniper or a missile from a drone. It will be the very technology he uses to maintain his one human connection: a telephone. The mission is codenamed Operation Sugar Cube. The name is a piece of classic intelligence misdirection. It sounds mundane, harmless. The reality is one of the most complex and technologically ambitious assassination plots ever conceived. The first step is to control the target's communications. But Ayyash is in Gaza, a densely populated, hostile hornet's nest. He is surrounded by a loyal network of Hamas militants that would die for him. A direct approach is impossible. They need a man on the inside, someone Ayyash trusts implicitly. The Shin Bet's agent runners in its southern district begin the painstaking process of mapping Ayyash's entire human network. Every relative, every childhood friend, every university acquaintance is scrutinized. They are searching for a weak link, a person with the right combination of access, motivation, and vulnerability. They find him in Kamel Hamad. Hamad is Ayyash's uncle, his mother's brother. He's also a childhood friend who grew up with Ayyash. More importantly, he is a businessman, a contractor with financial interests, and a reputation for being more interested in profit than politics. Intelligence reports indicate he is greedy. But greed is not enough. The Shin Bet needs more leverage. They place Hamad under 24/7 surveillance. They tap his phones. They monitor his bank accounts through international channels. They learn everything. They discover he has a son who suffers from a rare and serious blood disorder, requiring expensive medical treatment that is unavailable in Gaza. They now have their levers: greed and desperation. The man tasked with running Hamad is a senior Shin Bet handler, a veteran case officer known only as Captain Yossi. Yossi is a legend in the service, a fluent Arabic speaker with a Sephardic accent that allows him to blend in seamlessly. He is a specialist in recruiting and handling agents in the most hostile environments. To understand Yossi, you have to go back to Beirut, 1983. A younger Yossi, then an undercover case officer, was running a high-level PLO official inside the Sabra and Shatila camps. His asset had information on the location of a senior Abu Nidal organization commander. Just before the final meeting to get the intel, a rival PLO faction began a purge. The camps became a slaughterhouse. Yossi's asset was trapped. Standard procedure was to cut him loose, to sacrifice the asset to protect the officer. Yossi refused. Disguised as an Arab paramedic, he drove a commandeered ambulance into the heart of the fighting. He found his asset hiding in a cellar, wounded and terrified, as death squads swept the street outside. Yossi treated his wounds, gave him his own blood in a direct field transfusion, and then, for 12 hours, talked him through the terror. Not as a handler to an asset, but as one man to another, sharing stories of his own family, his fears. When the fighting subsided, he smuggled the man, his wife, and his children out in the back of the ambulance, past a dozen checkpoints. The asset gave him the intel, which led to a successful operation. But more importantly, Yossi learned a lesson he would never forget. The most powerful leverage isn't money or threats, but a genuine, albeit manufactured, human connection. An asset who feels indebted on a personal level is an asset who will walk through fire for you. Now, 20 years later, Yossi applies that same philosophy to Kamal Hamad. He knows a direct threat will fail. Hamad would rather die than be seen as a collaborator. Yossi crafts an approach built on subtlety and patience. He doesn't have Hamad arrested. Instead, he orchestrates a bureaucratic nightmare. One of Hamad's key shipments of Turkish cement, essential for a lucrative construction project, is held up at the Erez checkpoint for a minor, but unresolvable, customs irregularity. Days turn into weeks. Hamad is losing a fortune. He is called in for questioning. It's routine, deliberately boring. He is met not by a bruising interrogator, but by Captain Yossi, who introduces himself as Captain Rami, a liaison officer for Palestinian commercial affairs. He is polite, offers him coffee, speaks of mutual interests in a prosperous Gaza. He explains he can make the problem with the shipment disappear. All he asks for in return is a little information, nothing major. Just general business conditions. Who's getting the big contracts from the Palestinian Authority? Hamad, relieved and desperate, agrees. A relationship begins. Over several months, Yossi cultivates him. He provides Hamad with valuable business permits, helps him win PA contracts. He never mentions Yahya Ayyash. He is building trust, creating a dependency. He becomes Hamad's benefactor. Finally, he arranges for Hamad's sick son to be seen by a top hematologist at Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem. The cost of the treatment is astronomical. The Shin Bet pays for everything, no questions asked. Kamel Hamad is now deeply, personally, in their debt. Finally, after months of careful cultivation, Yossi makes his move. In a quiet meeting in a Tel Aviv hotel room, he lays it on the table. "We know about your nephew, Yahya," he says, his tone changing from friendly to clinical. Hamad's blood runs cold. He denies everything, his face turning ashen. Yossi remains calm. He doesn't threaten. He presents an opportunity, a logical choice. He tells Hamad that his nephew is a dead man. It's only a matter of time. He can be on the winning side. He can guarantee the safety of his entire family. He offers him $1 million and a new identity, a new life, anywhere in the world. He then slides a photograph across the table. It's a picture of Hamad's son, taken a week earlier, smiling, healthy again, after the Israeli-funded treatment. You did this for him, Yossi says, his voice soft but unyielding. Now help us, and you can give him a life of security away from all this. Hamad is torn. Betraying his family, his own nephew, is the ultimate taboo. But his son's future, $1 million, and the subtle but immense psychological pressure from Yossi break him. He agrees. He is now Asset 828. His mission, to get a specific cell phone into the hands of Yahya Ayyash. While Yossi was turning Hamad, a parallel operation was underway in a top-secret laboratory run by the Shin Bet's technical division, hidden in a nondescript building in central Israel. The challenge was immense. They needed to build a bomb that was also a perfectly functioning telephone. It had to look, feel, weigh, and operate exactly like a standard Nokia P1000, Ayyash's preferred cellular model at the time, due to its perceived reliability. Any deviation in weight, balance, battery life, or call quality would be instantly detected by the paranoid engineer. The engineers procured dozens of Nokia P1000 phones. They disassemble them, study every circuit, every component. The plan is to replace the phone's bulky battery pack with a custom-built unit containing the explosive charge and the detonation mechanism. The explosive chosen is RDX, far more stable than Ayyash's TATP and with a higher detonation velocity. They only need about 50 grams, precisely calculated to match the weight of the chemical cells in the original battery. The first prototypes fail. The weight is off by 3 grams, a difference a man holding the device daily would notice. They have to shave down the detonator casing and use a lighter, more expensive wiring harness. The real challenge is the trigger. It cannot be a timer. The moment of opportunity would be fleeting and unpredictable. A simple radio frequency receiver is rejected immediately. The airwaves over Gaza are a chaotic storm of signals from Israeli military, Palestinian security, and civilian traffic. An accidental detonation is too high a risk. The solution is brilliant, born from an argument between a SIGINT specialist and a weapons engineer. The technical team designs a miniature receiver that is deaf to all radio frequencies. It listens for only one thing: a specific acoustic signal transmitted through the phone's own earpiece speaker. The plan is this. When Ayyash is on a call, the Israeli signals intelligence aircraft circling high overhead will identify his voice. The command post will then transmit a specific dual-tone multi-frequency DTMF signal down the phone line. The phone speaker will play this tone, which will be at a frequency either inaudible to the human ear or perfectly masked by the complex frequencies of the conversation. The miniature receiver inside the battery, placed millimeters away from the speaker, will detect this specific acoustic signature and complete the circuit, firing the electronic detonator. The 50 grams of RDX will detonate with the force of a small grenade. Given that the phone would be pressed against his head, the result would be instantaneous and absolute. They build dozens of prototypes. They test them relentlessly in a blast chamber using ballistic gel heads to measure the impact. They need to ensure the blast is focused, powerful enough to kill the user without causing massive collateral damage that would expose the nature of the weapon. They pack the RDX to create a shaped charge, lining the battery casing with a thin layer of copper to direct the blast cone inwards towards the user's skull. After months of trial and error, they have a stable, reliable weapon. They produce half a dozen identical booby-trapped phones. Now, they just need to deliver one. Back in Gaza, Kamel Hamad begins his part of the operation. He is Ayyash's trusted uncle. He acts as a courier, a cutout, a logistics man for the engineer. This is his cover. Captain Yossi instructs him to tell Ayyash he has a source who can get him high-quality, untraceable Nokia cell phones, still in their factory wrapping. Paranoia is Ayash's shield, but convenience is a powerful lure. The constant need to acquire and dispose of clean phones is a logistical headache. Hamad's offer is tempting. Ayash agrees, but with a condition that proves his masterful paranoia. He will not take the phone directly from Hamad. Hamad is to give the phone to one of Ayash's trusted lieutenants, who will then deliver it to the engineer. This is a problem. The Shin Bet needs to know exactly which phone Ayash is using and when. Yossi devises a plan. He gives Hamad 2 identical Nokia boxes. One phone is clean, one is the weapon. He instructs Hamad to give both phones to the lieutenant, but to mention casually that one of them seems to have a slightly better battery life. A small, seemingly insignificant detail. It's a piece of psychological bait. The lieutenant, wanting to curry favor with his boss, will naturally give the better phone to Ayash. The first attempt is a catastrophic failure. Hamad delivers the phones as instructed. The surveillance team, monitoring from the command post on the INS Hetz and from a Gulfstream G550 aircraft, packed with listening gear, waits. For days, there is silence. They track the signal from the bugged phone. It moves around Gaza, but they never get a voice match for Ayash. Then, they get a hit. The Kol Dodi software flashes green, Zihui Vadai. But there's a problem. The intelligence analysts listening in realize Ayash is not speaking into the phone. His voice is audible, but it's distant, in the background. He's in the room, but someone else is making the call for him. He's testing it, using a subordinate as a proxy to see if the call is traced or if anything unusual happens. The engineer's paranoia has saved him. A furious debate rages in Miflatz. The tactical commander wants to detonate. We take out his number 2, Osama Hamad. It's a win. Ayalan slams his hand on the console. No, we fire this weapon and the game is over. He'll know how we did it. The entire vector is burned forever. Abort! The order is given. The opportunity is lost. Kamel Hamad is terrified. He is certain he is compromised, that Ayash's men will come for him in the night. He contacts Yossi, panicked. He wants out. The mission is over. This is the critical moment for Captain Yossi. He has to hold his asset together. He meets Hamad again, this time at a pre-arranged dead-drop location near a noisy market to foil surveillance. He calms him down, reassures him. He argues that Ayash's test proves the opposite of what Hamad fears. It proves he is not suspicious of Hamad himself, but of the technology. The family trust is still there. Yossi is relentless. He uses a combination of reassurance, psychological pressure, and a stark reminder of the $1 million reward and the life it would buy his son. He convinces Hamad to try one more time. But they need a new plan. A direct delivery, even through a cutout, is too risky. Ayash will now be even more wary of new devices. They need to integrate the phone into his routine in a way that seems utterly normal. The intelligence team goes back to the drawing board. They analyze the pattern of Ayash's calls. They know he calls his father every morning, like clockwork. They also know he is constantly on the move and burns through cell phones, often having his lieutenants simply acquire a phone from a local shop or an individual for a single day's use. The new plan is more complex, requiring perfect timing. Kamel Hamad will not give the phone to Ayash. He will give it to himself. Or rather, he will start using the booby-trapped phone as his own personal device. The logic is sound. Hamad is a trusted family member. For weeks, he uses the weaponized phone for his own business calls in the open. He lets Ayash and his circle see him with it. It becomes a familiar object, its danger laundered by routine. The plan is for Hammad to be with Ayash at the prearranged time for the morning call to his father. Ayash, needing a phone, will inevitably ask to borrow his uncle's. It's a natural, unsuspicious act. The risk is immense. Hammad himself will be mere feet away from Ayash when the device detonates. Yossi gives him precise instructions. As soon as Ayash takes the phone and begins to dial, Hammad is to make an excuse. He needs to use the bathroom. He left something in his car, and leave the immediate vicinity. He will have seconds to get clear. The tension escalates. The operation is now balanced on a knife's edge, relying on the nerve of a terrified collaborator and the predictable habits of a paranoid genius. This new phase is complicated by two new, dangerous factors. The first is internal rivalry. The Shin Bet is leading the operation, but Mossad is also hunting Ayash. Mossad prefers more direct methods: snatch operations, targeted killings by combat units. In late December 1995, Mossad activates a plan to ambush Ayash based on a tip from an informant in Khan Yunis. A team of Kedan operators, Mossad's elite assassination unit, is preparing to infiltrate Gaza. At the last minute, the Shin Bet learns of the plan through liaison channels. Ayalon is furious. A botched Mossad raid could spook Ayash, sending him deep underground for months and burning their carefully cultivated asset, Kamel Hammad. Ayalon makes an emergency appeal directly to Prime Minister Shimon Peres, who had taken office after Rabin's assassination. In a tense meeting in Peres's office, the head of Mossad argues for the direct approach. Ayalon counters, "Prime Minister, their plan is a sledgehammer. It's loud, bloody, and if it fails, he's gone forever. Our plan is a scalpel. It's silent, it's surgical, and it will sow a paranoia inside Hamas that no bullet ever could." Peres, a man fascinated by technology and clandestine operations, is intrigued by the sheer audacity of the exploding phone concept. He agrees. He orders Mossad to stand down and gives Ayalon's operation priority. The internal battle is won, but it has cost them precious time. Ayash has moved twice since the failed Mossad intelligence tip, forcing Hammad and his handlers to re-establish his location. The second complication is a ghost from Captain Yossi's past. A former informant he ran in Nablus, a man named Adel, who was presumed killed by Fatah's Tanzim militia years ago, suddenly surfaces in Gaza. The Shin Bet's facial recognition software flags him entering Gaza from Egypt. Worse, he's seen meeting with mid-level Hamas commanders. Adel knows Yossi's methods. He knows Yossi's tradecraft for cultivating assets based on financial and personal leverage. If he sees Kamel Hammad, a wealthy contractor suddenly spending a lot of time with his infamous nephew, he might recognize the pattern. He could expose the entire operation. A frantic side operation spins up. A team from the Shin Bet's covert Mista Arvim unit, disguised as Arabs, is tasked with finding and neutralizing Adel before he can do any damage. For 72 agonizing hours, as the main operation on Ayash enters its final phase, Yossi is forced to divide his attention, helping the Mista Arvim team track his former asset through the crowded streets of Gaza City. They finally corner Adel in an industrial area. He isn't killed. That would draw too much attention. Instead, he is quietly abducted, bundled into a van, and taken to a black site for interrogation. The threat is contained, but it's another reminder of how easily the entire complex plan could unravel. Then comes a technical disaster. On Tuesday, January 2nd, 1996, the Gulfstream G-50, codenamed Yariv, is on station, circling at 40,000 feet in a lazy figure-eight pattern over the Mediterranean. It's a flying intelligence hub, its belly packed with SIGINT arrays capable of intercepting and pinpointing tens of thousands of cell phone signals across the Gaza Strip. The system is designed to isolate the specific ESN, electronic serial number, of the target phone and feed the audio to the voice print analysts on the INS Hetz. Just before 8 a.m., the expected time of Ayyash's call, a power relay on the primary listening antenna aboard Yariv shorts out. A blue spark and the smell of ozone fill the cabin. Signal lost. Repeat. Signal lost on the primary array. The chief technician shouts over the intercom. On the command boat, the screens go blank. They are deaf and blind. A frantic scramble begins on the aircraft. "Talk to me, Eitan," the mission commander on Yariv says, his voice tight. "The relay's fried. We have to bypass it manually. But if we bridge the wrong contacts, we could surge the entire board." On a secure satellite link, the system's chief engineer back in Tel Aviv talks them through it, looking at a schematic on his screen. "Okay, you see the J14 and J16 ports? You need to create a hardwire bridge. Use a standard 18-gauge copper wire. Be careful, the capacitor bank will still hold a residual charge." For 48 agonizing minutes, the technicians, drenched in sweat in the freezing cold cabin, work with delicate precision. By the time the system is back online, the window has passed. Later analysis of wider network traffic shows a brief call was made from Ayyash's safe house during the blackout. He had borrowed a different phone. The opportunity was missed. The frustration in the command post is radioactive. The plan is brilliant, the asset is in place, but the entire multi-million-dollar operation is dependent on a single $50 piece of hardware functioning at a precise moment. The pressure to succeed on the next attempt becomes almost unbearable. January 5th, 1996. A cold, clear morning. The location is a house in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza. Yahya Ayyash has spent the night there. Kamel Hamad arrived an hour earlier, ostensibly to discuss a delivery of cement. He is carrying the Nokia P1000. For the past week, he has used it as his own. The Shin Bet command post is operational. The technical glitches have been resolved. The surveillance aircraft is on station. Captain Yossi is patched in, his voice a calm, steady presence in the ears of the command team and, through a covert earpiece, in the ear of Kamel Hamad. The second-by-second chronicle of the end begins. 0750. Kamel Hamad confirms his position inside the safe house with Ayyash. The signal is a coded, innocuous phrase spoken to his office. "Tell them the cement will be delivered by 9:08 Zia. The target, Yahya Ayyash, is awake and has had breakfast. He is waiting. His own network of couriers has failed to deliver a clean phone for the day. This is the opportunity the Shin Bet has engineered. For 8:15. Ayyash becomes agitated. It is past the time he normally calls his father in Rafat. He doesn't want to worry him. He turns to his uncle, Kamel Hamad. The request is made. "Uncle, my phone hasn't arrived. Can I borrow yours?" 08:16. Hamad, his heart pounding, his mouth dry, hands over the Nokia. He follows Yossi's instructions perfectly. He mutters an excuse about needing to get some papers from his car. He walks out of the room, his steps measured, not running. 08:20. Ayyash's father's phone in the West Bank begins to ring. The call is immediately flagged by Shin Bet listeners monitoring his landline. The alert is passed to the command post. "We have the call. Stand by." 08:22. The father answers. "Hello?" The voice is old, frail. 08:22:05. Ayyash speaks. "Hello, father. It's me, Yahya." 08:22. Nitin. The audio from the Gaza phone, the weapon, is patched through to the voice analysis team on the command boat. The Cold Doty software scrolls, comparing the incoming waveforms to Ayash's unique voice signature, built from dozens of prior recordings. 0122-18. The screen flashes green. Zihui Vadai. Certain identification. The voice is a 99.8% match. 08-122-119. Ami Ayalon, standing behind the operator, gives the nod. 08-22-20. The operator in the command post activates the trigger. The command is relayed to the SIGINT aircraft. R08-22-21. The aircraft transmits the fatal two-tone signal down the open phone line. The signal is engineered to be at a frequency that is masked by the normal spectrum of human speech. 08-22-22. On the other end of the line, in the West Bank, Ayash's father hears his son's voice cut out. He hears a sound he later describes as a loud click, and then silence. He calls out his son's name. Yahya? Yahya? There is no answer. Orzo 08-24. A low-level Shin Bet stringer, a Palestinian greengrocer positioned 2 blocks from the safe house, reports a muffled explosion and sees a puff of smoke from a second-story window. He reports people running towards the house. Radio 8:30. Hamas sources on the ground begin reporting an accident at the Beit Lahia residence. The initial reports are confused. A gas canister explosion, perhaps. 09 Serdano. Camille Hamad, following his escape protocol, reaches a pre-arranged extraction point. He is picked up by a Shin Bet team and spirited out of the Gaza Strip. His part is done. His old life is over. The immediate aftermath is chaos. Hamas is decapitated. They have lost not just a commander, but their chief weapons innovator, their technical genius. For hours, they deny the reports. Their internal security apparatus sweeps the safe house, desperate to understand what happened. There is no bomb residue in the room, no sign of a missile strike. The only damage is concentrated around the small table where Ayash was sitting. His body is mutilated, but the room itself is largely intact. It takes them almost a full day to piece it together. By finding fragments of the phone and realizing Kamal Hamad has vanished, they deduce the impossible. The source of the explosion was the telephone. The realization sends a shockwave of paranoia through the entire Hamas leadership. Their own trusted technology had been turned against them. Any phone, any electronic device could be a weapon. The psychological impact is devastating. It is a perfect kill. Clean, precise, and terrifying. Israel, following standard policy, never officially confirms its involvement. The official statement from the Prime Minister's office is terse. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword. The extraction of Kamal Hamad and his immediate family is seamless. He is flown out of Israel that same night. With a new name, a new passport, and a Swiss bank account credited with the promised $1 million, he vanishes. Reports over the years have placed him in North America, Europe, and Asia. His ultimate fate remains one of the operation's most closely guarded secrets. For Hamas, the death of the engineer is a trigger for revenge. Yasser Arafat's Palestinian Authority, obligated under the Oslo Accords to crack down on terror, is seen as complicit by Hamas. The peace process is the true casualty. In the 2 months following Ayash's death, a new generation of Hamas bomb makers, trained by Ayash but lacking his finesse, unleash a wave of 4 massive suicide bombings in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. 63 Israelis are killed. The attacks are brutal, aimed at civilians, and they achieve their goal. The Israeli public's faith in the peace process is shattered. In the subsequent election, the moderate Shimon Peres is narrowly defeated by the hardliner Benjamin Netanyahu, who campaigns on a platform of security over peace. The era of Oslo is effectively over. The legacy of Operation Sugar Cube is complex and demonstrates a fundamental truth of intelligence warfare. The assassination was a stunning tactical success. It removed a uniquely dangerous individual from the battlefield. It proved that no enemy was unreachable, and it sowed a deep and lasting paranoia within the enemy's leadership. The technological brilliance of the weapon, the patience of the intelligence work, and the nerve of the agent handling became case studies in spy schools around the world. But it also had an unforeseen, strategic consequence. By eliminating the single brilliant engineer, the Shin Bet inadvertently forced Hamas to evolve. Ayash had been a bottleneck. He personally built or supervised the construction of every major bomb. His death forced Hamas to decentralize its bomb-making operations. They created a network of smaller, less skilled, but more numerous cells. The single, high-value target was replaced by a diffuse, Hydra-like threat. The problem became harder to track, harder to contain. The assassination, a masterstroke of tactical genius, solved one catastrophic problem, but, in the long arc of the conflict, helped create 100 smaller, more persistent ones. They had flawlessly executed the plan. They had cut the head off the snake. But in the silence that followed the explosion, a dozen more were already beginning to grow, in the dark, ready to take its place.